Hey, well, hello everyone. Welcome to Let's Talk. This is a stab in the dark. I'm checking this out, seeing if I like it, seeing if I'm vibing with it, having a good one-on-one conversation with you guys. Kind of during the week, talking shop, chatting with people that are free, seeing if I like doing this, having a good old time. See a couple people in the chat already. What's up, Suddy? Xbox Mike 29. Good to see you. Jason Helms in the house. Captain Logan is here. Daddy D, Wally. What is going on, guys? Good to see you. Thank you for stopping in. Still figuring this Let's Talk out, right? But I figured, given the news of today, the pretty heartbreaking news of the closures that Xbox is kind of putting into effect that we're getting news of today, I thought it appropriate to try out this format, see how it goes, see if this is something that the community enjoys, see if it's something that I enjoy, particularly as we're entering into the summer season, as I enjoy talking with people, but not necessarily gaming, like live streaming gameplay type thing. That's not really my jam. So it's kind of my place to just, talk shop, hang out with you guys, see if it's something you all enjoy, I enjoy, and kind of we'll take it from there and grow and evolve. I'm going to call it Let's Talk for now until I figure out something better. So, we'll see how it goes. Split End, good to see you. Baron J67 in the house. Shout out to Baron J67 from Level 1 Gaming. I will tell you, I was going to be on Level 1 Gaming's show tonight, but David Whitaker had a few things pop up. So it actually worked out kind of well that I had the time slot available, that here I am able to talk to you guys about the pretty depressing, pretty frustrating news, I think, for a lot of gamers out there to see just what's happening with Microsoft as they are shuttering Tango Gameworks, as they are shuttering Arkane Austin, as well as Alpha Dog Games, and they are absorbing Roundhouse Studios into ZeniMax Online. Now, there are two reactions that I'm kind of having to this. I think my gut reaction is pure heartbreak, right? When you see Tango Gameworks get gutted, knowing that they just put out Hi-Fi Rush a year ago in this epic shadow drop, and then they just brought it to PlayStation, and that more gamers were able to experience it. That's a kick in the nuts, I think, if we're just going to be honest with it. That one hurts for sure to see that happening. Rick Davis in the house, good to see you. That hurts to see Tango Gameworks get gutted. Also knowing that Hi-Fi Rush wasn't just their legacy. They also had The Evil Within, which is beloved by many as, I would argue, almost or maybe the next best thing to Resident Evil. To some, it may even be better. I don't think it has the legacy therein, but like the quality of the games was there. The ideas were there. Really bummed to see Tango Gameworks getting shuttered because it just hurts, right? The human element hurts on a couple fronts because you see people losing their jobs. Awful, terrible. This industry has just been wrecked with job losses in the wake of the COVID expansion as it inflated. Now we're seeing it kind of collapse in and on itself. A really big bummer. And seeing that good, talented people are losing their jobs really, really hurts. And so for me, I think that's a huge loss for Tango Gameworks. Shout out to Split End. Thank you so much for the super sticker. I really appreciate you. $2 super sticker. Thank you. Every dollar you spend is helping me get to LA this summer. So I really appreciate you. Thank you. But yeah, it really does hurt a lot. And Split End making a good point right off the bat. I'm going to give him a shout out here. Saying it hurts to see Tango Gameworks shuttered because they were touted as Xbox's entry into Japan. And now that's gone, right? Absolutely the case. Really a big bummer because to me, Tango Gameworks represented something that was very special in that it really could have been, it really could have been not only the entry into Japan, but a way to build bonds with Japanese developers and make headway into bringing new ideas in. When we saw Hi-Fi Rush make its way onto Xbox consoles for the first time, I think we were seeing a life in Xbox that maybe we hadn't seen before, that maybe, just maybe, there was something special in the works in this kind of Xbox rebrand, because we had Xbox where it was to where it is now. It's a complete turnaround, right? Let's think about Xbox in 2013. Oof, right? The Xbox One launch hurt. You think about what was going on with the lack of exclusives in 2013 through 2015. The best news we had in Xbox times were, you get back compat, which was dope, right? That was cool. We love, dude, I love back compat. It's great. But like that was the good news at the time. And then Xbox really did show signs of life in expanding to PC, in creating Xbox Game Pass, in acquiring studios, acquiring publishers, because you had In Exile, you had Obsidian, and everyone was like, "Oh, cool, really awesome." You brought in Double Fine, really great news, right? You're getting more studios here to add to a pretty slim set of pickings, right? You had 343, you had the Coalition, and Mojang, which is funny because like we used to say, Mojang, if you count it. Can you count Mojang? Well, now we're having the same, debate about Activision Blizzard and Bethesda. And it's like, yeah, you got to count it. They count. Xbox owns them. They're responsible for them. So you have to count them. Jason Helm saying it shocked him, especially Tango. Absolutely. Right. Absolutely. But you look at where Xbox was, and then you look at to where they are now, and you've got a lot of good news, right? It's Xbox is on the up and up. And then you have a day like today where you see Xbox shuttering studios. Shuttering studios is not something we've heard from Xbox in a long time, at least in my memory. Maybe I'm blanking just like in the moment as I set up. What's up, Silkenit? Good to see you. As I'm just kind of doing my setup, maybe I'm blanking, but I don't feel like Xbox has shuttered a studio, not at least of which a mainstay studio, right? Like that's brutal. So it came as a surprise, I think, because we're so used to seeing Xbox expand. And when you look at Tango Gameworks, this was a game studio that was bringing fresh ideas in and being successful. When you look at Bleeding Edge, which came from, goodness gracious, I want to say, oh my gosh, Ninja Theory, right? Going crazy. I'm seeing the Trophy Room of PlayStation podcast in chat there. Shout out to Joseph Moran and Kyle Stevenson's there. They do good work. Definitely a show you should follow if you are not following them. But you look at Bleeding Edge out of Ninja Theory, right? That was Xbox allowing ideas to be made. Xbox allowing ideas to go forth when maybe it wasn't all that's cracked up to be. And it very could well be. It very could well be that Bleeding Edge was something of a WB greenlighting a Snyder cut, like, oh, we've got nothing and we need something in this window. Maybe that's what Bleeding Edge was. However, when you take a step back and you see Bleeding Edge and Grounded and Bleeding Edge, I'm looking at the chat. This is the problem with live streaming. Bleeding Edge, Grounded, you see Hi-Fi Rush, you see Pentiment, you see ideas being allowed within Xbox Game Studios, whether they were publishing it, whether they were developing it, ideas were being allowed. And then you get a hit in Grounded, it goes into early access and it hits this big audience, and we're like, okay, cool. You get a hit in Hi-Fi Rush critically, not in terms of numbers, but critically. You get a hit in terms of a niche audience, mind you, with Pentiment critically. And it's like, okay, not only are ideas being allowed, they're being encouraged, and it feels really good. Flash forward to the idea that you're putting Hi-Fi Rush onto multiple platforms. And a lot of people are wondering, like, sounding the alarms. Is this the death of Xbox? Is Xbox in trouble? Like, are they going multi-platform? Are we going to lose something special in Xbox? And that is like the idea that we sorry, I'm getting distracted by the chat again. This is the problem with live streaming. I like it. Are we going to lose something special with Xbox by putting our games elsewhere? Well, we saw it be very successful for some games. Sea of Thieves, incredible pre-order numbers. It seems like the audience is doing quite well there. But you didn't really hear much about Hi-Fi Rush, and I don't think anyone expected to hear about Pentiment, just given the nature of the game. It's not a very bombastic, in-your-face title. But for Hi-Fi Rush, I expected a bigger reception, right? Because this was a critically acclaimed, bright, fun, charismatic game that I thought PlayStation fans were going to gobble up. And maybe Nintendo was the right audience for it, and the Switch 2 just wasn't ready. But I think the exciting part was that we were seeing ideas come to fruition and be spotlighted within Xbox. And that gave a sense of hope as the Activision Blizzard deal closes in, and you got your COD studios, you got your Diablo, you got your Warcraft. What else are you doing, right? And when I see that Tango Gameworks is being shuttered, not only does that mean an entryway into Japan is being shuttered, it means the possibility of Evil Within 3, while still possible, is less likely, right? And that means an Xbox horror title that could be from Xbox, seemingly, like in the feels right now, feels nixed. And then a potential franchise with Hi-Fi Rush that you could be sending to Switch 2 when that comes out, or you could be, making its way into other areas of the gaming industry, it is gone, right? Like, what would a Hi-Fi Rush mobile game look like? It really would have been, I think, interesting to explore that realm. And so that's kind of a bummer. Clint in chat saying Hi-Fi Rush, critically acclaimed, yes, but honestly a niche title, sadly. I fully agree with you. I think a lot of what Xbox has put out in the last 2 years has been critically acclaimed and niche. Think about it. You've got your Age of Empires. You've got your Hi-Fi Rush. You've got Pentiment. Even Grounded felt niche to me. I guess maybe I'm a little bit wrong on that one, but it felt niche to me. And that's a problem, right? Like that's not good. So to see Tango Gameworks get closed really does feel bad. And I'll shout out Captain Logan and Split End. I see your question. I start it for later. Captain Logan, my comrade in arms, saying success does not equal job security, and absolutely, it does not. Right? Think about Alan Wake 2. I was thinking about Alan Wake 2 today because that game was extremely critically successful. I loved it. Very high quality. And yet it's not breaking sales charts that I've seen. It's not breaking the mold and selling out, and we're hearing about all this profit it's making. If anything, I've heard the opposite, that it's struggling to make some money. And that is concerning for me. That's concerning for the industry. My presumption is this is Joe in chat saying, can we rethink how we talk about game execs? I think when it comes to game execs, we have a problem as a gaming community because as an Xbox audience, we are very close to our executives. We hear from them almost like they are our friends, and yet they'll tell us things very plainly and clearly, right? Phil Spencer saying we're going to do what's best for the Xbox brand. And that might mean job closures. We saw Xbox cut quite a few jobs along with the rest of the industry in late 2023. I don't think that was the beginning of this year. But the evangelization of executives is a problem in Xbox's land, the Xbox community. We get close to them. We feel close to them because they tweet back, because they make personable comments, because we can look at Phil Spencer's achievement list and it feels very different than, say, Jim Ryan's ability to play video games where he looks so awkward with the headset on. And that seeming camaraderie within our community and as Xbox culture has caused, I think, a disenfranchisement and an illusion that they are going to do what we want them to do versus what's best for the brand whose job is to make money. And I'm specifically focusing kind of my conversation on Tango for the moment because I think Arkane Austin is a different beast. But when it comes to Tango Gameworks, Hi-Fi Rush, in theory, did not make much money, right? You'd have to think it would have been touted everywhere and excelled everywhere if indeed it made money, if indeed it was successful. Rob Frawley II, shout out to them. Good to see you, Rob. He in chat is saying a quote from Aaron Greenberg that I think has made the rounds, understandably so, mind you, that says, Hi-Fi Rush was a breakout hit for us and all of our players in all key measurements and expectations. We couldn't be happier with what the team at Tango Gameworks delivered with this surprise release. Now, he is speaking about Hi-Fi Rush's Shadow Drop and Xbox's feelings towards Hi-Fi Rush. Aaron Greenberg is a communications director, and it's his job to communicate things that help the brand of Xbox. And I think that's gotten him and Xbox in trouble with regularity over the last few years when you get to be so personal, because we have these conventions, FanFest, something I really do want to go to. And I would stand next to Aaron and I feel like he'd be my buddy and take a picture. But when they have to make choices like that, suddenly they're the bad guy. And that's the nature of PR, right? Sometimes the best advice is to just be quiet. And whether that's the case or not, should they talk more, should they talk less, largely depends on what it is you're speaking of. Hi-Fi Rush didn't make the money that it needed to, despite being amazing. And that sucks. That sucks. You can argue pricing structures, pricing models. You can argue subscription services. Whatever it is, the game had to make money in order to be successful. And clearly Game Pass didn't get the numbers that it needed to augment this cost, or it didn't show a kick up in Game Pass subscriptions as a result of Hi-Fi Rush. And that sucks, right? That I think is the part that hurts the most, because Hi-Fi Rush was great. I really wanted more people to dive into that world and experience the art, the design, the excitement that people had for it. But also, I think people really wanted to see another Evil Within. There were constantly questions. I was fortunate enough to have John Johannes on XEP for an interview when Hi-Fi Rush, it was like the day it dropped, right? That was a huge get for XEP and a wonderful win for me in the little guy, I would argue. But did the game do what it needed to do? I guess not. And one of the questions we kept asking was like, okay, Hi-Fi Rush is a big departure from the Evil Within. Why do this? Why go this route? And it's kind of a bummer, I think, to see that we no longer get that, right? The metric thing does bother me. I see you guys in chat kind of touching on the next point. Yeah, the metric thing bothers me in that quote, because in that quote it says, in all our key measurements and expectations. Well, one of the measurements and expectations should be that it demonstrates a business advantage for you to have it, whether that's an uptick in Game Pass subscriptions, whether that's an uptick in social shares where tons of people are seeing Xbox, whether it's an uptick in the most important aspect, purchases, making money. And I'd have to hope that PlayStation fans give it a shot now, maybe kind of the wake of this, and shows that the brand is worthwhile, or the franchise is worth saving in some way, shape, or form. I want to know, and I think we'll find this out in coming weeks and months, and maybe even get a chance to hear about it as a result of Summer Game Fest, people bumping elbows, interviews, people talking to Steven Totillo and such. Are these developers that worked at Tango Gameworks, at Arkane Austin, are at Alpha Dog, are they going to be re-recruited back into Xbox in different formats and positions? And I just don't know how much that's going to happen, right? We know that the team that worked on Redfall, we can transition a bit to Redfall if we'd like. Harvey Smith's team is not the same team that kind of built Prey and built all the things that Arkane Austin was known for, which is pretty disappointing when you hear about all the team that's gone. So do you want to retain that talent? I will tell you full on, I've had the fortune of on occasion DMing a high rate, somebody high up on the Redfall team, just good vibes, right? Like check-ins, no like insider info, but reaching out, getting an answer, chatting, right? And they were still working on it. They were working, bringing content. They had stuff in the pipeline. The last update went well. The 60 frames per second went well. They were working on things for Redfall, at least based on what this person was telling me. And And it was like, oh, this could be exciting. And I wasn't getting like insider info, so please don't. I know some of you are probably new to the channel at the moment. I'm not that guy. I'm just saying these were fun and enjoyable exchanges that made me excited for just what might happen for a Redfall redemption, right? When you look at Grounded, when you look at Fallout 76, when you look at the legacy of a lot of Bethesda published games, they hit their stride in year 2, year 3, right? They're supported, and then later on they're better. And so that's kind of what I was hoping would happen with Redfall. And I think it was a pretty unlikely thing because it just missed the mark. But I mean, I purposely kind of put some of my games behind me, my steelbooks behind me, but like the Bite Back edition, what does this mean now, right? Like they're offering refunds through the Bethesda website if you bought the Bite Back edition or you bought an upgraded edition, because no longer now is the Hero Pass. None of that content's coming. The last update is the last update. They're no longer supporting Redfall for future updates. What does that mean? You have to think that really what it means with no content is that eventually those servers are going to shut down because they're going to cycle people out and it's going to go the way of the dodo. And that's kind of a bummer because I really thought Redfall captured atmosphere quite well. And I did enjoy the game, which I know is a bit blasphemous. It's like scary when you're starting a live stream show and you tell people that you enjoyed Redfall. I also liked Anthem and Crackdown just to get my bad takes out there, so no tweets come back to haunt me, Drake style or anything like that. So Metro style. So that's kind of what's been going on in my mind there, is just the games have to make money. And I understand the reasons for these closures. And it's important for us to detach ourselves from the friendliness that can sometimes come from social media or Xbox themselves, their approach to communication with fans. Because at the end of the day, they spent $70 billion on Activision Blizzard to make money. They spent $6 billion on Bethesda Game Studios to make money. And the games weren't making money. My hope is that the Evil Within IP, the Hi-Fi Rush IP, see light again. And there's no reason to think they wouldn't down the line, but it's a matter of, okay, Xbox is repositioning themselves within the gaming industry. There's no doubt about that, right? Like nobody can deny that is Xbox's approach. They are repositioning themselves for a new take on what gaming is. If you can log in on your ROG Ally, you can attach a backbone to a phone. If you can go in wirelessly, if you can cloud stream from your PC, from your console, from your Xbox One, for God's sake, and play Xbox, the console space is just not a big enough piece of the pie to justify that technology, to justify the hardware and the software. So they're repositioning themselves. And I think that's what this is. And I'm curious in chat if any of you feel betrayed by Xbox. I've seen that going around. I saw Nissa Howard's comment. She was saying, what I'm mad about is people are getting mad at Xbox and not remembering that PlayStation and other companies did the same thing months ago. I think in this case, Nissa, I understand your point, right? It feels odd because Hi-Fi Rush was a Game of the Year contender, right? It was this super high level, charismatic, bombastic game that people were excited could be the future for Xbox. It had Nintendo vibes to it. And there's a weird magic that Nintendo often brings to the gaming industry. And so it was just that sign of life that maybe we all kind of hoped Everwild would have been, that Sea of Thieves level creativity. And I think that to see that go away is a bummer. PlayStation has shuttered tons of studios in the last 8 years. Tons of games have been shut down, from late PS4 generation Drawn to Death and Kill Strain and a few others to I mean, maybe it's not a studio, but like I'm thinking about Concrete Genie, PlayStation Japan, lots of other PlayStation branded things have shut down, not to mention their hardware, which is not very well supported. And the reason it didn't work is because those things weren't making money. They didn't get the engagement. Dreams is one that's in my mind. Like Dreams, goodness gracious. It all comes down to money. I have to imagine, like, and I see our chat discussing kind of Helldivers. It's Helldivers is an interesting example because there was a lot of community engagement and people that had purchased the game Helldivers, published by PlayStation. They purchased the game, wanted to go play the game, and in certain areas of the world were now being hit with this PlayStation Network login, and they couldn't play the game they purchased, and thus for PlayStation, they could not spend money on things like war bonds, and that sucks, right? Like that stinks, for sure, for sure. I want to point out Matt Valdez, one of our most staunch XEP supporters. Shout out to you, Matt. Saying he doesn't feel betrayed, he just feels for the devs. I think those are two different. Let me back up. Feeling for the devs is how everybody should be, right? And I'm right with you in that sense. I don't feel betrayed at all because I think I'm trying. For some reason right now, maybe I'll be more upset later or more emotional later. But for some reason, I'm able to separate how I feel emotionally about the devs losing their jobs because again, I had a friend that worked on Redfall, and the understanding of the business reality. I think that's why I don't feel betrayed. I'm right with Matt. I think about Phil Spencer saying he wants to do what's best for the Xbox brand going forward and for the future of Xbox. The future of Xbox is multi-platform. The future of Xbox is being everywhere it could possibly be. And that means the franchises that you love, Halo, Gears, Forza, if you're an Xbox One era player, if you're looking even older, Fusion Frenzy might have a chance of life because Xbox is healthy. And there's no reason to think Hi-Fi Rush can't come back at a later date. We need Xbox healthy. And in order for those games to keep coming, Xbox has to be in lots of different places. And that's just the reality. I like what my buddy Kev said. He says, not betrayed, sad for the employees, but I understand how business works. I started a new division of a recruiting agency and it didn't make a profit in a year. So I got laid off. It happens. Yeah, it happens. It sucks. It blows. Everybody should be showing empathy and keeping that empathy separate from your frustration at not getting the game you wanted or the studio you wanted. Split End, Concrete Genie. Can I tell you, I never played it. It did not appeal at first glance. So I'm bummed that you didn't get more of the game you wanted, for sure. I look at Tango Gameworks and I think about all that could have been. And I'm not crazy, right? Like they definitely made Ghostwire Tokyo, which was another game I think I just blanked on talking about that creativity. Like it was a departure from their normal stuff, right? Departure from their standard. And that really does bum me out, right? I think we're all talking about Hi-Fi Rush. I'm not crazy, right? That was Ghostwire, right? Ghostwire? Yeah, maybe. Somebody tell me if I'm crazy. I don't think I am. But it's been a day, so who knows? I also I'll talk while the chat catches up. It's very odd to me that no one's talking more about, or at least I don't see it referenced anywhere. I don't see it referenced the Alpha Dog games being shut down because that's Mighty Doom, and Xbox is trying to get to more screens, and that was a mobile game featuring the Doom franchise with a game that was pretty competent, right? That was a pretty competent game. I don't know if you guys played Mighty Doom, but I enjoyed it as a mobile experience. So I was a little surprised to see kind of that going away. They had a Fallout crossover. They had multiple like seasonal events. And so now Mighty Doom kind of joining the Gears pop. You know, what does that mean for Warcraft Rumble, which I checked out recently and I really enjoyed Warcraft Rumble. Watching these studios explore the mobile space and figuring out what to do with it is an endeavor. And it's kind of a bummer because, you know, they acquired Activision, which is, you know, Activision Blizzard King mobile, right? Getting your foot in the door for mobile spaces is an important pillar for Xbox. And then you shutter Alpha Dog. I guess for me, it's always like, why not put them on a new project that you think has more promise? Are there not more promises of profit and excitement? Both. We constantly talk about Xbox being third place in the console wars, but they're making money. Their revenues were up. Are they making revenues because they're axing jobs? In some cases, yes. Are there games as services? Didn't we want that to fund these creative endeavors? We saw recently with Helldivers, people speak with their wallets. I don't know what this does or how you speak with your wallet on these fronts, and I'm not encouraging anything. I get it, right? Like, I'm with it. It just feels counter to what I would have expected. I would not have expected Tango Gameworks to get shut down. I wouldn't even expected Arkane Austin to be shut down. Something that Joseph Moran said in chat earlier today was, can we talk about what to expect from game execs? I remember when Phil Spencer jumped onto, was it Kind of Funny, and talked about how he would bet on Arkane again. He believes in them, those developers. I would have hoped so, but proof's in the pudding, my friend. And where's it at? Like, the pudding is gone now. What's going on here? And so that is a strange, to me, disappointing element. Let's take a look here at a comment from Game Positive. What's up, Game Positive? He says, I don't know if betrayed is the right word, but these moves are completely counter to what Phil and his team have been preaching during the entire pre-ABK era. Can you trust a game executive? Can you trust a game executive? Should you trust a game executive? In any way, shape, or form is the question that you have to ask. And so I think the answer is no. And yeah, would you want to? Do you want to? I think we all want to. Should you? I don't think so. It's kind of like trusting like a political figure. They know things that we don't. They're privy to information that we're not. Do you trust all of them to tell you the truth? Unlikely, right? At least you shouldn't. And it's disappointing because I think Redfall should not have been the reason Arkane Austin was closed. One game shouldn't dictate it, but we've just seen now that you can have a successful game and be shuttered. You can have a failure of a game and be shuttered. What does that say to current developers, current makers of games, if you're under the Xbox umbrella? I don't know. Like, I often hear about how developers at PlayStation, developers at Xbox, developers at Nintendo, none of them are there for the console wars. They just want to make games. But what does it say if you're trying to get a job and Xbox is like, we'll hire you? There's no job security, right? Rob Frawley making that almost the exact point, saying he remembers an interview on Kind of Funny. Phil Spencer heavily implied Arkane Austin could withstand a single underperforming game. Maybe they didn't understand just how underperforming it was. Is that a possibility? That could be a possibility. Maybe so. I'm not sure. Hit that like button, guys, if you're willing. I'd really appreciate it. Hey, coming and hanging out with X-Talk. If you're not following or subscribed, I should say, feel free. I'd really enjoy having you guys here. If you're unfamiliar with XEP, as just a quick plug about XEP, we really tried to, in our primary show every Saturday, Captain Logan and I try to be voices of reason and approach from multiple angles. That's something that we try to do as far as covering the Xbox brand. We are Xbox gamers. We are PlayStation gamers. We are gamers. We just cover Xbox. That tends to be our approach here. And obviously, I love the franchises that Xbox owns. I love that. And so that's super important. And Clint Coombs in the chat saying the XEP Discord is amazing. XEP Discord is best Discord. Yeah, it really is. I will say, if you're a channel member or you're a Patreon member, you get access to our Discord. And the reason the pay gate exists is to let it be there for people that want to be there. And so it's all positivity and happiness. And I really enjoy that. All right, let's get to some questions. I see a lot of people dropping questions into the chat. And a few of my moderators, I don't know if you guys can star things, but I can star stuff on my end. So I'll take a look. This question comes from Captain Logan. He says, last weekend you talked about how Xbox had too many games coming in at the end of the year. Does having these studios closed mean fewer games and more focus on titles that are getting released? That's a great question, Logan. I think it has to mean that. And the streamlining that's coming as a result of it, the ability to focus your studios and clean up their direction is important. So narrowing the focus of studios is very, very important. There is no reason for that not to be taking place because there are too many games for the window of time. I think it kind of reminds me of, and stick with me on this. Maybe you guys will track what I'm thinking. Maybe I'm way off. Reminds me of Halo Infinite. You had all these talented people, all these great ideas, but they were mishmashing. The timelines were a mess and the pipelines were a problem. And so you'd bottleneck development at certain points. If you bottleneck releases, there's no way for people to have the time and the finances to play them. You have to have both. You have to have both in the gaming industry. And so there needs to be a more consistent and steady stream of distribution of those products for people to invest their time and money in. And that, to me, is the miss. Phil Spencer stepped away from running Xbox proper into kind of a wider role. And Sarah Bond is now kind of heading up a bit of this. And I hope that she and Matt Booty and a few others are doing just that. Logan, I feel like you just stepped in to start moderating. You're a nice man. I appreciate you. Can't tell that's what you did, but thank you. Let me see some other factors here, or some other questions here. I'm looking through. I saw them and I lost them. Game positive. It feels like the business division has gotten too big and Phil is no longer the top decision maker. That, can I tell you, after Activision Blizzard, it does kind of feel like that, right? Like seeing the comments from Satya and Nadella was both exciting and kind of worrisome, because you spend all this money to get Activision Blizzard, and then we had game and studio closures off the bat, or not off the bat, but like towards the end of 2023, 2024, the changeover. And in seeing that happen, it was like, uh-oh, what are we going to do now? Right? If Phil's no longer in charge, what does this mean for the brands? And I think that's exaggerant, silly thought processes, because the reality is he's sitting at the table with Microsoft as a whole, and his division has to be in the black, has to make money. In the short term, you can cut people, but if you cut too many, you lose the ability to create product and thus get yourself into profit. And so there's definitely got to be a streamlining of things to happen, because we saw them execute on layoffs that were already kind of in the works at Activision Blizzard. That's what happened before. And this one feels different for some reason. This one feels different. Matt Valdez, every time Jez goes on vacation, something crazy happens. That's right. Jez, by the way, I have no confidence, by the way, that he is going to be on this Saturday. He said he was going to, but like, the man's in Greece, and a storm just hit, or rather I should say, like a media storm just hit. So we'll see, right? Let me spotlight. I started. This was from earlier in the show. Split End 89 asking, am I worried for Ninja Theory at this point? Yes, I am worried for Ninja Theory. I think that's an appropriately fair reaction, because if these cuts are the result of profit not taking place, if that's what's happening or not happening, and that's why this is going on, you've got a smaller title in Hellblade 2 than I think many were expecting it to be. This was the game you showcased your box with, mind you. You've got a smaller game than what people were expecting it to be. It's not available on physical. And then we're seeing tweets and socials like, we made this wood carving to do this, and we're spending this much time on getting the audio just right. And you can look in and zoom into the iris 1,000 times to see this pixel. Is that the best move? Is that the best value to dollar, the best ROI, return on investment, that you can get? And I don't know that it is. I'm not saying I'm not excited to play it, because yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Yes, I plan on rocking it. But I don't know that that's the best return on investment, because simply put, the game's got to make money. And is it making money? I don't know. We will see. I don't see Hellblade as being a pillar franchise the way that I thought it might have if you'd heard me speak a year and a half ago, right? I really thought it was going to be the God of War. It feels like less that. So what does that mean for Hellblade 2? What does that mean for Hellblade as a franchise? What does that mean for Project Mara? I don't know. I don't know. Jampack Sam, good comment here, says it definitely feels like a pivot from experimental games to confident hits before they're even out. Does. Yep. And to follow up on his thought, he says, less Pentiment, more CODs, less Hi-Fi Rushes, more Elder Scrolls. That's exactly what it feels like. And I love COD, and I'm excited to see out the future of Elder Scrolls. I'm getting into Fallout. Like I like it. I like COD, and I like Fallout, and I like Elder Scrolls, etc. But I like that Pentiment exists. I like that we can see games like Hi-Fi Rush exist. That Alan Wake 2 has a chance to thrive. That Alan Wake could make a return. But it's brutal. It's brutal. And so I really, really wonder what's going on. I also wonder, and as far as Tango Gameworks being in Japan, I wonder how that changes the cost of running a studio when they're trying to pioneer a region, right? They just hired that woman who was previously at Sony, at Sony and PlayStation to kind of work on their relationships in Japan. Xbox did. What does that mean, right? Like now that this has happened, like what's her role in this? And so I'm very curious to see just what goes on. Shout out to Kevin Ainsworth says, listening while I play games. That means I have both hosts of Project X Talk hanging out with us. You should check out Save Game Media. They are awesome. Really appreciate them. Ooh, $10 super chat from RC Polygons. Thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate you greatly. They say Arkane Austin made Redfall. Mighty Doom wasn't a hit for Alpha Dog. Shinji left Tango after Hi-Fi Rush, so the studio was directionless after he left. Xbox isn't dead. I think you're absolutely right. Xbox is not dead. Xbox is changing, but it's absolutely not dead. And so, I mean, it makes sense. If Mighty Doom wasn't a hit, that kind of bums me out because I thought the game was quality, for sure. And I liked the DNA in Redfall. Yeah, I'm clicking like on that super chat. That's dope that you can do that. Very cool. Give that a little love there. And thank you for helping me fund my trip to LA. I really appreciate you, RC Polygons. Yeah, I think the idea that Xbox is dead is a very silly notion. Xbox is in a wonderful place. And that's where we have to separate our emotions and our empathy from the developers who are suffering today, who lost friends that are in the company, the developers lost their jobs, their well-being, their welfare. That is a brutal loss, right? But that is different than Xbox. And Xbox, I think their future is very promising. It's because of, I'm scared to say this part. It's because of the Call of Duties and the Elder Scrolls that Halo's got a chance to fly again. It's because of that, right? It's because Fallout is a hit that we might get another crack at Halo being amazing once more. It's because of those things that we're going to see Gears of War enter into the fray with a high-profile AAA release again. Because Gears 5, I love Gears 5. And it didn't sell Xbox Ones, right? It didn't sell Xbox Ones. That hurts me so bad. Like, I love it. It sold Xbox Ones to me, right? Halo Infinite sold a lot of stuff to me. But we need look at Captain Logan starring his own. I didn't do that, by the way. I didn't do that. He did that. He says, I love the Halo guy from Fortnite. The Halo guy from Fortnite should also be in Call of Duty, by the way. Goodness gracious. For sure. Keep the questions coming, guys. I'm enjoying this. This is fun. I think about the way that Xbox's future is being built. And I think about like Halo Infinite itself with that massive budget. And it took a long time to get it to the state that it's in now. And now it's gone, right? These incredible Forge makers and developers there, like, what are they doing? What's going on there? I just don't know. Portal Players says, well, hello. What's up, Portal Player? Good to see you. Split End. Great question. Let's throw this out here. So, odds that Perfect Dark sees the light of day or that Initiative stays open. Whew. That's a tough one. I swear to you guys, I talked about Perfect Dark on the last XEP because I think that game is in trouble. Back in the Avengers days, I had a pretty good insight into Perfect Dark because of their work with Crystal Dynamics, and it wasn't good. Essentially, Crystal Dynamics was making the game, and then there was a lot of turmoil within the studio, and people were upset. People left. The direction of Perfect Dark was confusing. People didn't know what they wanted it to be, And the project lingered for over a year. I think it had internal reboots multiple times, not unlike Everwild, by the way, which is a trend and a problem. And it makes good sense that we should be worried as Xbox fans. What's going on with some of these things we were promised at the end of the Xbox One early Series SX generation? Like, what's going to happen to Everwild? What's going to happen to Perfect Dark? What happens to Contraband? And I don't think anyone should be confident in those. Everwild is dying so that Sea of Thieves can live, as it should. As it should. If it's a game that lacks direction and you're shuttering a studio that can make Hi-Fi Rush, then yeah, Everwild's got to go, right? You need a clear direction, make something special. And Xbox, for their own part, they have struggled with the small games category. What's up, Ellery Woods Parker III? Shout out to them. The small games category is this weird, odd element because ID at Xbox has been firing at all cylinders for years now. The problem with ID at Xbox is brand recognition. No one knows what it means, indie developers at Xbox. No one outside of like this audience would even know what ID at Xbox is. There are ID at Xbox showcases that spotlight these great things that are coming to the Xbox platform that nobody watches, nobody sees. The streaming's weird. It doesn't seem like it clicks with people. And then those are, to me, the ID at Xbox elements are great places to show off internal Xbox indie games, right? Like the ability to showcase a Pentiment, the showcase a Hi-Fi Rush, having studios designed within Xbox to do that so they can foster that creativeness is important. And that really bums me out, right? Portal Player saying they didn't finish Hi-Fi Rush and it's okay. I think the game's great. I didn't finish it either because I don't have rhythm. But one of the coolest moments of bonding with my wife, who I adore my wife more than anyone on this planet. She's not a gamer by nature. And she was able to sit next to me and wonder why I couldn't hit the beats in Hi-Fi Rush because I don't see and feel and hear rhythm. But she did. And so we got to have that cool moment. And then that kind of opens doors for people that maybe are outside of the whole twin stick, play in 3D spaces types of video games. And that it's a shame that is not the case, right? Lyrically C in chat. It looks like Edward Barnell's picture. I can't tell if that is. If it is you, Edward, hello. If not, I apologize. Saying, I don't think many gamers will be mad or hold a grudge past June or July. It is business, but are we really thinking about those studios' future games? That is exactly right, Lyrically C. You are 100% correct. Because this showcase that we are set to see this summer is poised to be one of Xbox's most powerful showcases in a decade. And I'm not saying that lightly. I'm not saying that in any type of exaggerant way. What I'm saying is we very much are going to see an Xbox that has acquired and is done with the legal battles of Activision Blizzard, where Diablo is under the banner, Warcraft is under the banner, where Call of Duty is under the banner, where Starfield is under the banner, where Fallout and Elder Scrolls are under the banner, where you see Sea of Thieves under the banner, where Gears of War is under the banner, where Halo is under the banner. We have and is very promising for players that are entering into their ecosystem, be it on PC, cloud, or console. The question you have to ask yourself is, do you need a box to play it, right? What franchises do you want to dive into? And if I'm an Xbox gamer and I see news like today, it's a kick in the shin, but it doesn't derail my love for or my excitement for the showcases, right? I saw a really good comment in the chat. I don't, and let's see, Logan, if you're paying attention, if you can pull it back up. Oh, it was Lyrically C. I found him. It was the same one. I think about those studios' future games. Is anyone thinking about Tango Gameworks' future games? Or were they hoping for a new Evil Within? Was anybody asking for Ghostwire Tokyo 2? When I say anybody, I don't mean the audience that's tuned in watching on a Tuesday afternoon when I don't even broadcast I'm going to do it, right? I wanted Ghostwire Tokyo 2 because I thought the game was really fun. I want Evil Within 3. But does anybody outside of outside of this audience know that Tango Gameworks was owned by Xbox, know that The Evil Within 3 could have been Xbox exclusive, know that Hi-Fi Rush was made by Xbox, and I don't know the answer of that, right? Like, that's the kicker there. Nissa Howard saying, I feel like the reason why Hellblade isn't becoming bigger is because Microsoft isn't marketing. This is the issue with a lot of Xbox games. Boy, hard to argue that one. Hard to defend Xbox on that one. We saw Aaron Greenberg's tweet, a week or so ago, talking about just getting out of a meeting. And I'll freely admit, right now, I'm confused with how I feel about Xbox marketing, and I'm a little bit salty with the summer showcase and how they're treating content creators and stuff. So I'm a little bit biased in this case. And I know I hope I'm always transparent with you guys about like how I'm feeling, but Xbox does have a marketing problem, right? We couldn't even confidently say that Blade was coming to Xbox, right? Like, that's such a weird feeling. We couldn't confidently say that. We can't confidently say what Call of Duty's future is in Game Pass. We can't confidently say what Xbox's relationship with some of their own games are. How many games from Activision Blizzard, mind you, the deal closed over a year ago? How many games from Activision Blizzard are in Game Pass? 1, Diablo 4. Uno, 1, and you can't even play it on cloud. You don't even get the full promise of its Game Pass presence. So yeah, they've got a marketing issue, and they're working through legalities, and that's part of it. But there is reason to be upset with Xbox, for sure. For sure. Question kind of popping up here and there from a couple people about Xbox's console and hardware future. The future of gaming is not hardware. It is not hardware. You are not going to need to buy a PlayStation, an Xbox, a Switch, or whatever 20 years from now. You can. I'm sure they will exist in some way, shape, or form. But screens are the future. Logins, apps. That's not news, right? Like, we've been saying that for a long time. And we've been saying that for a long time, all while the console market space has not been expanding. That pie has not expanded. And so that is part of it. That is part of it for sure. Nissa Howard pointing out Fallout games. Let's see here. You don't need another Halo game. The current one hasn't ended. Logan, the current one is done for the masses, which blows. It's not fun or fair. I hate that. Let's see. 20 years from now is nearly the entire lifetime of Xbox as a brand, though. Yes, but 30 years is the entire lifetime of PlayStation, right? Like, gaming is a young industry, right? Gaming is a young industry, and that's kind of the problem here. And let me just point out real quick, the fanboy that Captain Logan is, you can't end something called Infinite. I beg to differ, sir, because we've been on the 418th Final Fantasy. Names don't matter. Names matter a lot. I just like giving Logan crap. Okay. Keep those likes and questions coming, guys. This is a blast, and I'm really, really enjoying this. This is actually a really good time. And this I will totally say, it's so cool to see your name in there being green and such. Let's see. Somehow they figured it out. Oh, the Final Fantasy thing? Absolutely. Portal player, Blade isn't coming out. Blade isn't coming to Blade is definitely coming to Xbox, but it won't be console exclusive. Let me ask you this. Do you want Blade to be console exclusive? Is that something that people want it to be console exclusive? Blade. The game's not likely to happen until the end of this generation or the start of the next. We just closed Tango Gameworks for not selling enough with Hi-Fi Rush. What do you think is going to happen to Starfield if Shattered Space doesn't hit? What happens to Indiana Jones if the game isn't a financial hit? It's going to go other places, and if it fails there, you're not getting another one. Studios won't open for that. And so that's an issue, right? That's a problem. So do I think Blade's console exclusive? Nope. Maybe a timed exclusive. I'm fine with a year. Give it a year. I think we talked about that at 1XEP. Give it a year. Game Pass day one, $70 a day on PS5 is a win for all, says Game Positive. You are right. That to me is the future of Xbox. Day one on Game Pass. Day one on Game Pass. Pay full price everywhere else. And that is fine with me, right? I am totally okay with that. Court Lalonde in the house. What's up, Court? Good to see you. Clint Coombs says, I don't want any game to be exclusive. It hurts developers too much. Well, you're right about that. And I got to tell you, if you'd even go back to XCP is what, 5 years old this October. XCP is 5 years old. If you'd go back 2 years, maybe 2.5, I would have wanted exclusives a lot, right? I think you would have seen that happen. I love that Logan is abusing his power right now using the XCP brand name in there. I have to restrict that one. Jeez. Shout out to Jordy. Good to see Jordy, by the way. Follow Jordy over on Threads. At Complete Xbox, I believe is the name. Incredible to see his name popping up here. Incredible following on Threads. Cultivated a wonderful community over there. Awesome to see. Awesome to see. And shout out to Complete Xbox. I love that we're giving Corp hate for the Bruins and sorry for hockey just in general. It's fun. Let's see. These kids need to get into higher level games. Let's pull up a few other of these. Don't care as long as it's on Game Pass. I like Wade Johnson's comment here. Shout out to Wade Johnson. I don't think I've seen you before. And I absolutely agree with you that as long as it's on Game Pass, I don't care. That is the future. That is the future of the Xbox customer is Game Pass. That worries me, side note, because the cost of Game Pass is going up and like, it's Teacher Appreciation Week. And I honestly contemplated. My kids were like, Mr. Lore, what can I bring you? And I was like, Game Pass? But I didn't say that. I said cookies, and they brought me cookies today, and they were delicious. So that's what I did. That's what I did. Court Lalonde likes the Hurricanes. Good for you, Court. That's awesome, man. I also like them. Let's look at Lyrically C's question here. I'm ignoring you, Joseph Moran. Joseph Moran asking if we could put up a poll whether or not I'm ugly or not. And can I just tell you, and I'm going to just make this clear, Joseph Moran, you smell. You smell. There you go. Edward Barnell says, I wouldn't say Blade is console exclusive if there is one mention of Steam for their games. I don't think that counts as an exclusive in any form. I would just say first party title nowadays. Splitting hairs when it comes to exclusivity because the PC space is nebulous, but I understand your point. Yo, Ellery Woods Parker, new member today. Thank you, Ellery. You are amazing. Thank you so much, Ellery. Oh, and now you get a green name, and it's dope, and it makes me happy. You're awesome. Appreciate you. I'm gonna add your name to the banner. Don't let me forget. I will definitely do that. Cookies for the win is right, Nisa Howard. Cookies are my favorite food. Maybe pizza is a close second. But I love cookies. And so my students, I was trying to find a way because like students will do anything they can to be kind when they love you. And I didn't want them breaking the bank on like Game Pass or anything like that. And there are a few that could do that, but I didn't want that to be the case. And so like a lot of them make me cookies or whatever. Oh, that's right. Ellery Woods Parker the third. Let me drop this in here. They have a running joke in my classes because it's the end of the year, and I've had some of them for 2 years because I moved up with them last year. Portal player. I teach 8th grade this year. I taught 7th grade last year. Jordy, I got your comment. I'm not gonna lose it. And so I got to move up with them, which was amazing. And so some of them have been my kids for years, and I've been really watching them grow up. And we can joke, right? So they call me big quite often. That's the youth term for fat. And it's funny. So like if I'm eating like they will bring me cookies if they know I'm having a bad day, which is hilarious, and it gets them out of trouble. But also like if I start eating it like while they're working on something, they'll all be like, "What you doing, Mr. Lore?" And I'll be like, "God, they got me. They got me." It's crazy. Let me give Jordy's comment a shout here, just because I appreciate Jordy's content creation as well. Today's news hits hard. The bigger picture seems to be Xbox is shaping a new mold and direction overall. Hope to see that the talented devs stay within Xbox other studios. I agree with that. I don't know what's going to happen to some of those developers. Again, I imagine we see something more from that in the coming weeks, but I very much think that we need to find out just what it is that happens to the talent, because talent retention is a big deal. That's a big deal. Clint Coombs, guys, you're double dipping. You don't need to do that. Oh God. Okay, shout out to Clint, became a channel member as well. Thank you, Clint. I appreciate you. He wanted a fancy green name too. Now you can use the emotes in chat. Ellery Woods Parker the third, gifting 5 XEP channel memberships. Are you guys kidding? Thank you so much. Are you kidding me? Guys, you're double dipping. You're doing Patreon and that. You don't have to do that. But goodness, thank you. Thank you so much. Honored and appreciative. And just I'm gonna double down on saying that I appreciate you doing that, because this is helping me fund my trip to LA. And so all the channel memberships, Patreon, super chats, all that stuff, that's just helping me pay for the trip out there. Because I'm flying in hotels and stuff. I'm gonna get to see Ainsley Bowden, which I'm excited about. And so that's really, really exciting to see. Thank you, Jordy. I appreciate you. Ellery, I could not be more honored. Shout out to you. Thank you, guys. And every channel member, guys, make use of your cool emotes. I saw Joseph Moran in chat. And again, speaking of ugly, here he is right there. He's an emote. We made fun of him. That's Fallout Joe. You know what? Let me just point fingers right here. Here's my guy. Here's my guy right there. Look at him. Famous. Very cool. Very cool. So you guys are too good. You're too good to me. This is incredible. That is incredible. So can it becoming a channel member. I love you all very much. But I don't want you double dipping just on account of. I appreciate you guys. Thank you. I am humbled and appreciative because now I can get to there. Oh, I switched my membership from Patreon to YouTube, so don't. Okay, good. Okay. I don't want anyone feeling taken advantage of. That's not the goal. But you get to use the cool emotes, and they are fun. Okay, there we go. Let's see here. But I want cool emotes too. Well, there you go. You got it. Let's see here. Did we get questions in there at all? This Hometown Hero saying as a mod, he should get emotes. No soup for you, my friend. No soup for you. Let's see here. Well, look, in honor of this AMA, bring it, guys. Because we're a little over an hour, but I'm having a blast and I'm enjoying myself. And dinner's not yet ready. I can smell it, but it's not quite ready. Do an AMA here, guys. Ask whatever you like before we kind of get on a roll. Thank you, Jordy. I see your comment. That was very nice of you to say. Thank you. I'm taking a beating on Twitter from this one guy. That's funny. Rude. Let's see here. There's one guy that's absolutely very upset with Phil Spencer on socials. It's not a bad question to ask. I don't think is Phil Spencer doing a good job is a fair question to ask. It's fair to ask of anybody that's running a $1 trillion company. I don't think. Jordy asks, "What's for dinner?" It smells like stir fry. I'm not 100% sure. My wife has all these weird food allergies. I don't understand it. But she can't eat anything without getting sleepy or whatever. And so my diet as a result, I'm getting thinner. Let's put it that way. Oof. Let's see. Nissa Howard saying, she just hopes that going forward, Xbox knows what they are doing and they get better marketing. I could do better marketing and I'm a therapist. Well, first, thank you for what you do as a therapist, helping people. I meant to say that on the last XEP and I just got distracted at the time, but thank you for the help you give people, Nissa. And as far as marketing goes, man, that's just such a frustrating conundrum. And it's very difficult because I am so excited for this showcase, right? Whether I get to be in the room or not remains to be seen as far as FanFest. But I'm really excited for this showcase. And it's smart that they give bad news out ahead of time. You give the bad news ahead of the good news. It's always good marketing and PR. So in that sense, good, right? That's good. But on the downside, the negative sense, what are we doing to promote so that this doesn't happen? Where was the marketing for Hi-Fi Rush so that game didn't tank? Where was the marketing for Ghostwire? Where was the marketing for the franchises that deserve more than they get? Right? I think that's kind of a big problem. Edward Varnell saying, do we think that Microsoft still has a chance of having an amazing 2024? Absolutely, Edward. Without a doubt, Xbox is going to have a great year, right? Without a doubt. Hellblade 2 arriving, Indiana Jones arriving, Shattered Space for Starfield. You've got multiple COD seasons happening and very successful, I might add. Good crossovers with the boys, with Fallout incoming. Godzilla and Kong stuff was in there. Those made money, I have on good authority. I do get to bump elbows with more people. Maybe I should be Jez Corden. I'm just kidding, Jez, you're cool. Those things made good money. And then you look at Ara History Untold's coming to PC. You look at Vessel of Hatred for Diablo. Warcraft is going strong, has an expansion on the way. Sea of Thieves goes to PlayStation and does well there. These are all good for Xbox. So yes, Xbox is having an amazing 2024. But you're going to have a black eye anytime you misstep. And Redfall hurt. And I think you're going to hurt in a couple different places, in a couple different aspects in this year. And that's part of it. PlayStation doesn't even have releases, right? They're relying on second and third party approaches, which, side note, I think second party is fine. Like that, I don't think anybody should be angry with PlayStation because Helldivers isn't technically first party, right? Hopefully PlayStation learned a lesson. They got punched this past week for it. Let's give, I'll give you about 5 to 6 more minutes, guys. First, Logan saying it's a Hi-Fi Rush was a shadow drop. Yes, but I mean, once it's out, where's the blitz, right? Why are you not letting people know? Why wasn't Hi-Fi Rush on the Series S box? Because they released a Series S a few months later. Why is that not on the box? Bright, bombastic, colorful on a box, on a shelf? That's a big deal. And so I thought they missed the mark on that one. Let's see here. I'm starring some questions so I can come back to them. All right. This one's from Clint Coombs. Now channel member Clint Coombs. Does Ghost of Tsushima requiring a PSN login on PC get instantly review bombed coming off Helldivers 2 because it was pre-announced, it's safe? It's safe. Just like the misstep that Sony made with Horizon Forbidden West and Zero Dawn and the price uptick for the versions, once you get it out there, once you make it known out there, it's a lot easier than blindsiding a consumer base. It's the same reason you don't take away features without telling people, because the PR hit hurts worse. That's the downside of it. Whereas if you get the bad news out there, then you can blitz the marketing on the good. And so I think that's going to be the approach. The conversation for Ghost of Tsushima will be about frame rates, optimization. Is there new content included? How is the multiplayer aspect going? Are they doing anything special with the franchise going forward? How did the Steam reviews go? I don't think it's going to be about having to log in on PSN. Once you set the standard, you're okay. But if you set a standard and then change it and walk it back the way they did with Helldivers, that's a bigger concern. Game Positive saying, do you think it's weird that we have not heard from Phil yet? No tweets or memos or Xbox Wire posts. As far as I know, he usually comes right out and takes these on the chin. If I'm Phil Spencer, I'm distancing myself from that approach, because we talked at the top of the show about the familiarity and the problem that comes with being that front-facing aspect, but also it's Sarah Bond's time to take that role. It's Sarah Bond who should be out in front of everybody. Phil's role is different. And so that is, I think, the way that it needs to be looked at going forward. Let's see. Xbox Canada has been silent for months here for PR like crickets. That's odd, because Canada usually hooks everybody up in Canada with everything, regardless. So that's surprising in some ways, but maybe it's surprising because it's different, right? I will tell you on the content creation side here, I'm seeing new reactions to established content creators. And as someone who's been trying to break into that zone for a bit, it's a little different. Things have been odd lately. That's not to say bad, but different, I think, is expected if you're looking at Xbox on the PR front, because you've had to absorb In Exile, Obsidian, Ninja Theory, Double Fine, all of Bethesda game studios, all of Activision Blizzard. That's a lot. And so the approach has to be different going forward. Clint Coombs says, Embracer is the real enemy of 2024. Let's be honest. You right. Yeah. Today's news hurts, but it does not feel surprising. It hurts. It does not feel surprising. Blindsided, yes. But like when you look at the numbers, I don't think it's, illogical, I guess you would say. Embracer is the enemy of gaming, period. Split End says, Hi-Fi Rush had 3 million players and they still got closed. It's worrying that you could do that well and it not be enough. Well, Split End, I want you to consider this, and maybe you already have. So I'm shooting from the camera, whereas you have to type. So bear with me. But I will say, what does 3 million players mean? Xbox does this metric of engagement, and that's good when you have microtransactions that can help augment costs. But if you don't have that, is Hi-Fi Rush driving, and it's 3 million players, are they driving subscriptions? Are they driving sales? Clearly not sales, because PlayStation, we would have heard more. So 3 million as a success depends on the investment and what you were expecting out of it. Talk about expectations in Square Enix. They can have a 6 million selling game and be disappointed. And that's a Tomb Raider I'm alluding to. And that's awful. Awful. It's all about return on investment. Let's see here. So why does Microsoft do a lot of deals with these candy companies and PepsiCo? Asks Edward Varnell. Doesn't every company? I think every company does stuff like that. I don't think that's a good or bad. I mean, like, shoot, Nintendo's on cereal boxes. Like, I don't think that's a fair approach. Split End says Tango was a huge surprise. Surprise as in like blindsided, wasn't expecting it. Yes. So maybe I should choose my words a touch more carefully. But like when you look back, was Tango making money? Was for the business side, I mean, which is the obnoxious answer to all of this, right? I don't want to hear that answer as the consumer. I want to play more games that are dope, right? But I guess I'm not surprised in hindsight. It doesn't feel good to say it like that. I don't mean it in a mean or negative way, but yeah, it doesn't feel good to say that. I'll just leave it, I guess, at that. Clint Coombs, I don't know what the IGLF means. Somebody break that down for me. I'm slow. It wasn't on Game Pass. I doubt it. I think he's just saying if. That was a typo. If it wasn't on Game Pass, I doubt it would have hit those numbers. You're right. Yep. I don't think it would have hit those numbers at all. Also, to the 32 million people that didn't play Hi-Fi Rush on Game Pass, you made a mistake. You missed out because that game was awesome. Whether you finish it or not does not. And I see this a lot. Like, I put X amount of hours into it. I say this a lot too. But like, you can love a game and not put a ton of time into it. That's not the same. Those aren't the same thing. Rick Davis, I missed basically everything up to this point, got called away. But with Xbox, optics mattered too. Yep. Can't argue that. No one but the ones who played it on Game Pass but didn't buy it. No, the ones who played it on Game Pass but didn't buy it are the ones who made the mistake. Ooh, okay. Chat, weigh in on this. I don't agree with this at all, Rick, because the point of having a Game Pass subscription is to not have to purchase these things, to not have to buy and yet still able to experience. I don't think that's anyone on Game Pass's fault. They were using their subscription that Xbox wanted them to buy to play. And that to me is what you're supposed to do with it. So I don't know that I agree. And what has that led to? That's not the point. Xbox did. If you're mad, or sorry, if not you're mad, but like if the argument is those are the people that won, that made a mistake. No, they didn't make the mistake. They took advantage of the business appropriate response. Xbox is the one that messed up. But I don't think Xbox would have survived the dark times had they not had Game Pass. They didn't have games, man. Portal Player, it had 3 million players, but the achievements are super low. Every achievement had a low percentage. I agree. But I think many of those people might have been like me. Maybe they jumped in and like it's niche game. Not for me, but it's still fun to try. right? And what better approach for Game Pass customers, right? Rick Davis, I love that one thing I like about Rick is the contention. It's fun. I'm not saying you're wrong there, but I'm saying Game Pass is what led to this. I fought against that idea for a while, but it's pretty clear what that resulted in. I don't know that I agree. Is Game Pass the reason we're here? I don't think so. I don't think Game Pass is the reason you're here. I think there's a lot of factors, and perhaps Game Pass is a small factor amongst many bigger ones, from the pandemic to market costs to reach and poor decisions in the Xbox One era to simple quality games being made. Sometimes you just need to make a better game. Sometimes that's not the case at all. So like, that's not like my stand all be all. What's up, Nerd Chat? Good to see you. I'm about to close out here soon, guys. I'm about to go close out soon. I'm gonna give it I'd said 10 minutes, at least 10 minutes ago, but I'm really enjoying this here. Let's see here. Game Pass might not be the issue, but day one first party was. Day one first party is the only reason to have Game Pass. If you're the masses, those of us that are already in Game Pass, we know we eat good, right? Like we get good stuff all the time. Like recently, what did we get? Dead Island 2 was a big one that we recently got, which was dope. I think there's a lot of good love for the Yakuza franchise. Maybe that's what somebody said. Dreamlight Valley's in there. I love Game Pass for all the stuff that's not just day one. Exoprimal was a blast. Game Pass let me play Exoprimal without paying for it for a good week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and then I was done. Dead Space is in there. Yep. Jedi Survivor is in there. Game Pass is the GOAT. I think everybody should be checking that out. For sure. All right, Dead Space wasn't day one. No, but it's in there now. That's what I'm saying. Like people that are in there now are having a blast. Having a good old blast. So here's what I'm going to ask, guys, before I close out here. If you haven't clicked the like button, please do so. Had incredible 500 people across the different services from Twitter and such tuned in at various points. And we're at 40 concurrents right now, and I'm really appreciative of all of you. If you hit the like button, thank you for the super chats and the channel memberships. I want to go back for a minute and just say thank you one more time to Split End for dropping a super sticker at the very start of the show. Ellery Woods Parker III made the jump over to be a YouTube channel member. Clint made the jump to be a YouTube channel member. Then and Silkenet did as well. Thank you. And then Ellery gifted 5 channel memberships. Thank you so much for that. There was a super chat in here from RC Polygons. I want to say I somehow unstarted. I'm so sorry. But it was in here, and I appreciate that $10 super chat. You guys are helping me get to LA safely and help me offset those costs. So I got to say thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate you all for that. There we go. I'm gonna hide that one. Okay, guys. If you're not following on socials, please feel free to check it out. Have a fantastic rest of your week. Thank you for hanging out with me on Let's Talk. Maybe we'll do it again next week. We'll play it by ear. Definitely gonna learn as I go as far as the Let's Talk aspect of this channel. Shout out to Ellery on Twitch. Absolutely, Ellery with Parker III. Amazing. That's gonna be it, guys. Have truly have a wonderful rest of your week. I'm gonna roll the patrons that are still Patreon members. The channel members have been scrolling at the bottom. Have a great rest of your week. Take care, everybody.